can happen. And we know with Ubers and things like that, so much of that is on the rise. And we know that the statistics are very strong, and that, you know, right now, as we think about ourselves and our families, we want to make sure that everyone is safe. And I'm not going to take a whole lot of time, but I will just give kind of a brief overview about Damsel, just in terms of what we offer. So I've just got a few things beside me, and the color for the month of April for sexual assault awareness is teal. And so I've got my trusty stun gun. So Yvonne, I'm not as close to you, so but our stun guns are all designed to help women in that protection mode, and to make sure that, as I'm trying to figure out which way, yeah, that as we're out and about, if we choose to carry something that's a non-lethal weapon, that we have an option. And so our stun guns keep on them an enable pin, and this enable pin lets you pull it. If I generally keep this around my wrist, if someone gets it away from me, they can't turn around and use it against me. So when I'm out, I have my light on, I have it available. And that stun can also be a warning, but if someone gets it away from me, they cannot turn around and use it against me. And I'm really excited because Damsel has little small ones as well that we call our little ringers that do the same. For the benefit of especially young people traveling and being out on the go, our pepper sprays are awesome, but we have a new pepper spray that has a GPS tracker. So if this particular one is deployed, it has an app that you can actually go and download the app. And if this is pressed, there are 5 people that you're allowed to program into your phone, and it would send a message to those 5 people to say, you know, Josie's pepper spray has been deployed. And that GPS tracker starts immediately. And so the people who get the message are then able to let the police know that, you know, that person has been is an uncompromising situation, and it will continue to track them until an all clear message in the app is released to say that that person is now safe. So this is our pepper spray with GPS tracker. All of our pepper sprays have a UV dye that will stay on a person 72 hours to be identified. And so that's important, because it's not just about, you know, spraying and getting away, or as we say, stun and running. If you have a way to identify and let the police know that they have been sprayed with something that has that UV dye on it. And then there's some really cute new little ones that I really like. Yep.
Excuse me for interrupting. While you're talking, I can see everyone's really getting engaged with your products. Give me some information to put in the chat so they know how to find you.
Yes. The number 2, I know Brian and I worked all afternoon trying to get my screen with the information, but it's the number 2, defendher.com, 2defendher.com. And my phone number is 804.
So, okay, I'm sorry. Let me just, so www. I mean, most people know that, but yeah, the number defendher.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this
and
is your
my
website?
Phone is 804-334-1944.
1944 334-1944.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all in your chat, ladies. Okay, keep going. Awesome. Great stuff. Great stuff.
So, and these are our new pepper sprays. These are called our these are our new little bling ones. And so I like these because they're cute and they're sassy. I've got a rainbow one, but just like our regular pouches or other pepper sprays. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm trying to hold it where there is some clarity. But they as well will have the UV dye that will stay on the person for 72 hours. And so these come in these variety of colors and things like that. And what I like about that process is we now have something that's really cute called the arm candy. So I can have my pepper spray on my arm. It's got the enable pin for my stun gun, which my stun device, we don't use gun anymore. So that can be there, and I can have everything accessible, LED light, stun, and my pepper sprays. And it has that same ability of the breakaway, so that if someone got it away from me, they could not turn around and use it against me.
Wow. So they look so cute, but they're not.
No, and that's the thing is they don't look like weapons, and we don't want to think about them as weapons. And we're not telling people we don't want to be fear mongering, but we do want to keep people aware. The same way we buy car insurance before something happens, we want to make sure everyone is protecting themselves before something happens. You know, if you're traveling on the road, my favorite in my car and on the road on my road trip. This is a multi-use. It is an LED light, high beam, low beam strobe light. It's got a red beacon light. It's magnetic, so I could literally attach it to the top of a car, stay inside of my car, tell someone to look for the flashing light on the side of the road rather than me being on the road. It also has an alarm. It has a car window breaker, which is right here at the end. It has a seatbelt cutter, which every time there's somebody stuck in a car in a flood, I'm always thinking they just need to have that punch mechanism. And it's rechargeable. So it can be recharged, but whenever the power goes out, I've got these throughout my house because I can charge my cell phone to them.
Okay, well, I'm going to bring some levity. It's not because it's funny, but when you said you can cut a window, I started thinking about Stella getting her groove back. I was like, oh, okay. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about being in a flood. Okay.
Break the window or cut the seatbelt.
It's a serious subject. I just thought I'd bring a little levity to
yeah,
it.
that's going to be another, it's coming back out, you know.
Well, I love that movie, by the way. So Josie, I have seen you at our events. I want to say every year since I've been here, like 8 years, it was something like that. You've been a true follower and supporter of the Innsbrook Foundation, and we love supporting you. So we'll be sending out that information to everybody.
Awesome.
And does anybody have any questions before we let Josie, she's going to paint with us. Oh, go right ahead, Helen.
Hi, Josie.
Hi.
I bought some pepper spray from you probably 3 years ago at this event, and I'm wondering, I've had the luxury of not needing to use it, which is good, but love to keep it close and to keep us safe.
Time for a refill.
Expire at some point? Do I need to get a new one?
Yeah, I would say it's time to time for you to replace it. So if you'll contact me, I've got pepper spray replacements. But if you take it out of your container, actually on the bottom, it will have, and I'll just pull this one out. It's got an expiration date on the bottom. But we do recommend every 2 years replacing them because oftentimes people might keep them someplace like a hot car, and that can affect the that can have an effect on the effectiveness of the pepper spray.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And maybe I'll just get another one of the blingy ones too.
Yeah, I love the bling.
New and improved.
Yes.
One for every outfit.
Yes, we can do that.
But that is so informative. I had no idea pepper spray had an expiration date. That is so interesting.
They do.
Wow.
They do.
Wow.
And when you check out the website, you'll see all kinds of other things like my emergency whistle, which I can wear as another way to alert. So if somebody doesn't want to carry anything lethal, they can have an alarm, a personal alarm on them. So, but thank you so very much for allowing me to share this evening.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here. And so everyone, please show your love for Josie. I'm going to give you an applause and also one of these.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we've been doing this event. We, the Innsbrook Foundation team, have been doing this event for actually a long time. It used to be called Girls Night Out. Who'd have thunk it? And then, one of my many wake up in the middle of the night, Innsbrook's Women of Worth. And I thought I made something up, but no, I didn't. There were like hundreds of them. So what we call it, Innsbrook's Women of Worth. And then we love calling it IWOW. And it's just a new fashion girls' night out because of the empowerment part of it. And so Josie is one of our empowerment speakers. Kristen's one of our empowerment speakers. And our charity partner, Carolyn Huxford, is always bringing empowerment because she helps us remember why we do this event, which is because it benefits Rising Creek Family Connections. And because we draw closer to the need in our community, which without Carolyn, I wouldn't even be aware of, honestly, not to the extent that it is. And Carolyn and I met walking our dogs when I used to live in a different neighborhood. And Carolyn and I were neighbors, and we just met by chance. And I thought, wow, we need to partner. And so we've been doing, I think this is our 4th year. I'm not really sure.
No, I think it's 6.
Oh, my.
At least 5, if not 6.
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to introduce to you the Executive Director of Rising Creek Family Connections, and that's Carolyn Huxford, and she'll tell you all about that charity and the connection with Hamilton Beach. Thank you so much, Carolyn.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. And we're going to switch it up a little bit. For those of you who have been in previous years, I'm not going to give a speech like I normally do. We have something else planned, but just very, very quickly as an intro, I'd like to thank Yvonne for her continued support. I believe this is 6 years, and she supports us, she helps us, she brings us all together, and it's women helping women. So thank you, Yvonne. I also would like to thank Hamilton Beach for, as you can see behind me, they generously give 10 or 12 small appliances, new in the boxes, that we use over the course of a year in our housewares package to just add a little something special that we're not able to necessarily afford to include in the package, and always, you know, bring some tears in the eyes there. Thank you to Kristen also for Rich Wine RVA for our exclusive wine tonight, for Painting with a Twist, which I know is really bringing a lot of fun, going to bring a lot of fun to the group. To Brian for pulling all this together. Thank you, Brian Congrove. And Josie, you're so special. Every year that we've been there together, Josie has always given me a safety item to share with one of our clients. And I take it to the YWCA and ask them to identify someone they're working with in their domestic violence program who has to walk a long distance when they leave a job, they're outside, they're feeling threatened, their abuser may still be in the community for whatever reason. So Josie, thank you. That's where your gifts are going every year. We really appreciate that. So I'll just launch into it. We're in our 11th year now of serving women and children in the Richmond community. And for those of you who may not know, they are women who've been in shelter or safe housing, and they're now transferring out back into a new home, and they're starting from scratch. And we get referrals from YWCA and Safe Harbor to provide all the housewares and linens they need to start living in their new home. So instead of listening to me talk about what we're doing, I wanted you to hear more directly from one of our clients. And she just goes by Kay. And she sat down with me and told me about her experience with Rising Creek Family Connection, how she felt, what it meant to her. I didn't script one bit of this, and I never could have done as good a job as Kay does in talking about her experience. So I'm going to let her do the talking here.
Mom, we can't hear it.
You cannot hear it?
I can't. If y'all can, then maybe it's just on my end. Go forth.
Anybody? Carolyn, can you hear it?
No.
We can't hear it either.
No one can hear it.
Did you share the audio?
I don't know. I shared that. It says it's all the way up. Let me check settings. Might have to have Brian noodle this. Let's see now. Let's go back and see what I did and did not do. So please bear with me, drink your wine, ignore the lack of understanding. Audio.
If you look at the bottom of the share screen, it might say share computer sound.
Well, I just show in meeting option to turn on original sound. Is that it? No?
I don't know, unless Zoom is updated.
Okay. Where did use separate audio device? What did you, I'm sorry, could you say that again?
So I think once you click share screen, usually a screen pops up for you to share like the web, your browser.
Right.
At the bottom, there should be something that says share.
Ah, you're brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Okay. We're going to go back to the beginning. I didn't mean to start it so quickly anyway. Okay, let me know. Let me know.
When I got into my new apartment, I had a lot of different emotions. There was the stress of how I was going to furnish everything. There was a happiness and a relief and a feeling to exhale. When a volunteer from Rising Creek called me, I was actually in Target looking at baby things. And I remember saying what I was doing and her telling me, well, stop right there. Don't get anything just yet because we're going to help you with a lot of different things. And I just remember feeling blessed and thankful. The household goods and linen package was a very welcome surprise. The starter pack actually gave me everything I needed to be in my new apartment until my furniture was delivered. It kept me from sleeping on the floor, very comfortable air mattress. um, I remember looking at the bath mats and them just being, I literally would sit and just run my feet over the bath mats because they were so soft and fuzzy. I had every utensil, and I'm a cook, so I had everything I needed to bake, to cook, to stir. It was great. I even had the things that I don't think I would have thought about if I went shopping for a starter pack. Now that I'm settled in, looking back, the personal impact that I received from, because it truly was a blessing, it took stress off of me. Um, it made me feel happy about coming in, even though I didn't have my furniture, because I had everything I needed to get comfortable and to start to love my new home and to do the things that I needed to do. I remember when the volunteer pulled up to deliver my starter package to me, and I told her I was coming to help her, and she said, no, you don't have to lift anything. It's not a lot of stuff. And as we kept going back and forth from her vehicle to my house, I noticed more and more things. The experience was priceless. It's a blessing. And it let me know that God still hears all of our cries and our prayers. I remember when I was told that a representative, a volunteer would be calling me, I was told, I just have a gift for you that's going to surprise you. And the YWCA case manager who told me, she said, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, I'm just going to let you be surprised and see how God works. And that's the best way that I can word it. I saw how God worked when the Rising Creek volunteer delivered my things. They delivered literally everything that I needed, and it didn't stop there. I would just like to thank Rising Creek and everyone who donates or participates to Rising Creek, as well as the YWCA. So many women leave, and when you leave a domestic situation, like me personally, I left everything, literally just 2 bags. So to know that there's people out there that care enough, that want to donate, that want to help, it's pretty much indescribable to put into words. And pretty much the best way you can say thank you is to come and tell your story and let someone else see that there's support out there, there's help out there, there's strength out there. And the way to pay it forward is to come and tell all of those people, thank you.
Wow, that is powerful.
There's not anything more I can say. Those were her words, and it still moves me every time I watch it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I'm so glad we did this. I'm not sure if we've ever had a chance to do this before because, no one wants a pandemic, but having a virtual platform made it a little easier to share, actually. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in our daily little itty bitty struggles, right? And I know there are people on this call who have more than itty bitty struggles, but I'm just so glad to get to know that wonderful person and know that you were able to help her. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you to
It was
Rising Creek Family Connections.
such a wonderful delivery, but you know, they all are. We, before this past year, we'd always give them a big hug. We always all cried. You know, it's just a wonderful, powerful experience. This year we've had to be distant this past year, but still, you know, we get to talk to them on the phone and wave at them from 20 feet away. So, you know, I missed that part of it, but it's still, when I go back and listen to Kay's story, it's more powerful every time I listen to it.
Yeah.
And
Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
thank you for doing that. I'm so
Yeah.
excited that everyone got to see it. It is on the Rising Creek Family Connection Facebook page under videos, if anyone wants to watch or share. And just thank you to all you do for us and all the people here this evening for taking the time to listen, and women helping women.
That's right. That's right. And we've had this event when it's, I think I remember one year, 125 women signed up.
Nice.
And we've had it with 65, we've had it with 30, we've had it with every single number.
Yeah.
And every single time it's the exact right people who should be at that event and connecting and bringing love. So thank you so much, Carolyn. And thank you for also remembering just everybody here. Thank you for being here. We're going to have some more events coming up very soon. I think Brian is reaching out to Shauna to get her sort of on the way to the screen so that we can start painting. But I do want to just take a moment, because we are empowering one another. I just wanted to see if anyone has a personal story they'd like to share about an impact that they had on someone else's life or that someone had on their life, and can just share a couple of very short stories. Does anyone want to talk about anything that has been significant over this pandemic and as we prayerfully make our way out of the pandemic? Okay, I'll start. I just want to say thank you to my neighbor, and she's going to be surprised by this, but Marianne is on the call, and Marianne and her husband moved next door, and we're a couple of years apart. And but she has been a delightful friend, and we like to meet at the fence and and have our dogs try to be nice to each other. Anyway, I have one of my dogs is not very nice, but anyway, we just have a lot of fun. But Marianne and her husband came to our drive-in movies. She's coming to this event. She has been supportive on other events, and they come to our restaurant where my husband and my brother-in-law, we have a restaurant. And so that's really, I don't want to overlook that, because I think that sometimes in our communities, we don't even know each other, number one. And number two is, I think we forget to support each other, not just people, but even women. We sometimes get a little bit away from that. And so I just wanted to say thank you to Marianne and her mom. There you go, Mom. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being such a great neighbor and friend, Marianne. And
you're going to make me cry. Are we supposed to cry? Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being next door, and I could say the same as you. I mean, what you do with Innsbrook and all the events that you host, and how positive and supportive you've been to us as well. We got married in the pandemic, so we moved in right before our wedding, and Yvonne and Alberto were both very supportive through everything, and getting to live right next door to them and to you is a pleasure. We're putting off buying a house. We're not having any luck just because we can't leave here. We don't Alberto. But thank you for everything you do.
Oh, you're very welcome. Okay, I took the mic. Anybody else want to talk about an exciting something or other?
I'm going to take this opportunity to I want to thank Carolyn for her comments, because she was so helpful for me last year as well, because I wanted to donate. We have a line of children's storybooks because we recognize that by the time girls are old enough to use our products, things have already happened. And so she was very instrumental in getting me connected to the right people at the YWCA to donate a library of our Safe Heart books. And so I wanted to thank her for that. But this year, COVID was very interesting. I had cancer during the entire time of COVID. So just before COVID, well, right in the midst of it in July last year, I was diagnosed with my 4th cancer diagnosis and just finished up right around the time this came out. So I was like, yeah, it's a way for me to get back into business and to, reconnect with in a comfort zone. So this felt like a very good comfort zone for me to just kind of get started again without being out in the public. And although Brian was saying, we could have done this in person, I don't know that I would have come yet in person, but to be able to do this in this way and to feel comfortable with the community because it's a community I already know. And so I was really excited for today to relaunch and to just step back into, but I always tell people, I said, cancer was actually a blessing for me in COVID because God knew how to keep me still because I would have been out there trying to figure out how to skirt around COVID and still do what I do. So, as always, he knows how to make me be still at the appropriate times. And so, I'm good. My main treatments are done. I still will have a maintenance chemo for 2 years. Did not lose my hair. People say, oh, you sound great. I said, head up, I work just fine. The body still suffers, but God is good. And I'm just grateful to be able to be with women of worth because everyone here is worthy. Thank you, Yvonne.
Yes, that's an amazing story, Josie. And just, to see you exactly the same as I saw you in the past, for you to keep such a great attitude, that's really awesome. So blessings for continued recovery and for that to never, ever come back and to be rid of it. But what a great attitude you have. Yeah. Well, ladies, we are waiting for our painting artist. And, I'm pretty well known for just jumping in and doing whatever, but you don't want me to teach you how to paint? You really don't? I'm expecting the picture to be upside down or some such like this. I think the delay is that we were thinking we would take a bit longer to get through everything. What time is it? It's 5:41. So I will do a little cross promote if you allow me. We have coming up on April 22nd, and I will try to find, I have so many things open. When Brian Congrove looks at my screen, he just goes, that makes me really stressed out because I always have so many things open on my screen. But I will take this moment to cross promote the event that's coming up. And that is, let's see now, here we go. It's important, as Josie mentioned, we got to take care of ourselves and we have to take care of our home, and our home is the earth. And so Earth Day is April 22. And this is Innsbrook Saves the Earth. Now, we've been doing this event for a very long time. And here's the fun part. It's just naturally and organically COVID safe because, you don't have to be around. In the past, we'd have maybe teams going around and cleaning up the lakes, but it's not necessary. And we do all the heavy lifting for you. We provide trash grabbers and trash bags and plastic gloves and hand sanitizer and pretty much everything you need to clean up the lake. The lake cleanup can literally be anytime you want during the day. We're going to make sure that all the tools that are needed are out at 4470 Cox Road, which is at the corner of Waterfront Place and Cox Road in Innsbrook. It's right in the middle of Innsbrook. And we'll make sure they're out there at 9 a.m. We didn't realize when we created the flyers and all that Markel, who is our presenting sponsor, was going to get so strong behind this. And they have recruited so many volunteers in their various groups within Markel who are going to come out, and we need to give them as much time, much distance in terms of time to be able to accomplish their goals. They have some internal competitions going on actually to, oh, not you. Sorry, my phone, yeah, whatever. Technology again. But anyway, so April 22nd, let's look at the details. Souls for Souls. If you don't know what Souls for Souls is, it's a charity that collects shoes and clothing for people who are in need. Something like 3 million pounds of shoes and clothes get thrown away every year and add to our landfills. And it's a shame because there are people without shoes. There are people who need clothes. And so what Souls for Souls does is that they have volunteers who actually resole gently used or just used shoes. I had a pair of sandals on this morning and I looked at them, I go, you're going to Souls for Souls. And it's so much better than throwing them out. So they're going to go to people who need them. And you can bring them. Now, when you bring your shoes and your clothes, please put them in separate bags. And if they're shoes with laces, she asked with Souls for Souls that we tie them together because they have a very small staff now because of COVID. So that would just help them do their work a little bit better. So there'll be a truck located at 4470 Cox Road from 9 to 2 on April 22nd. Tech for Troops. Tech for Troops is an amazing charity. Mark Casper is the executive director. He is a dynamo. And what Tech for Troops does is you can drop off your old tech. And you know how you have a phone, you change phones, you don't know what to do with the old one. Well, bring it to 4470 Cox Road on April 22nd. They have certified techs who will wipe your equipment if you don't have, like if it has information on it. They're licensed and certified, or you can just wipe it yourself and then come and bring it without the information on it. They just need the equipment and you don't need it if it's not being used anymore, right? And you can't throw out tech. I mean, it's really bad for the environment, like really, really, really bad. And you get to support veterans in need because veterans who are trying to get a job, they're trying to reassimilate, they're trying to get themselves together. They may not have a computer, they may not know how to use it. And Tech for Troops does all of that. So that's our other charity partner. And then, as I said, we're cleaning up the lakes. And, you know, they may not be as riddled with things this year because many of us have been working from home, but we still need to take care of it. It's also an unusual tie-in for us because the East Coast Elite Triathlon is on May 2nd. That is actually people swimming in Waterfront Lake. Yes. And they are youth as well as adults. And it's a huge event. These are elite athletes who end up going to nationals, and one elite athlete 1 year from that event went to the Olympics. Anyway, they're swimming in the Waterfront Lake, so this is great timing to clean up the lakes right before that event. So again, Innsbrook Saves the Earth, April 22nd. If you want more information, innsbrook.com. It's free. And we supply everything that you need to help us out on that day. And you get to be outside and not stuck at home. And so as we make the transition from our working at home, and some of you are probably already in the office, but you get to enjoy this wonderful event. So please come and join us on April 22nd. And one more cross promotion on May 22nd, we have Innsbrook's Uncorked and Uncapped. It is a wine focused event, but we have beer also, live music on the stage, and a couple of food trucks. And that's going to be at the Innsbrook Pavilion, part of the Innsbrook After Hours concert series. And I see Shauna has joined us. So how wonderful is that? Shauna, thank you for being here this evening. We are awaiting your entrance because as I told the ladies, there is no way I can fill in.
Yes, I will be. I'm just literally going to pour my paint. So I guess if you guys are in the same situation where you need to get your station ready, then you can grab your plate with a little bit of each color and put it out on your plate. I'm just going to go get my paint and I will turn on my video in just 1 second.
Thank you, Shauna. I know we're a little ahead of schedule. See, I didn't even know you're supposed to do that. I hope you have your paint safely away from your computer. I hope I'm far enough away. I put a newspaper under my plate. I don't know if you want to try that. Wow, this is a very, very vibrant red. Wow, that is awesome. Okay, and we have lots of colors. Try to close the top without putting it on your clothes. Yeah, oh, okay. I'm dribbling now with my words. Okay, yellow. And
You can get away with just a little bit of each. You guys have pretty small canvases, so if you have any extra that you're able to save afterwards, that's great.
now you tell me. I'm just trying not to wear it, especially after a couple sips of wine. Hello. Like that. Okay. This is so fun, Shauna. What a nice kit. And so, Shauna, once you get yourself settled, I want you to tell us about painting with a twist, where you're located, all that kind of groovy stuff. Whoa, the white comes out very fast.
Yes, they are different consistencies, and you would not know that unless you were me. So I apologize about that.
No, that's okay. That's all right. It's so far.
I'm missing a piece here. Okay. I'm just basically trying to get my ring light on so it's a little brighter for you guys, but that's the last piece here.
Oh, yeah, ring light. So I invested in one of those. My hairdresser said, Yvonne, I hope you're looking the best you can at your Zoom meetings. Get a ring light. Yeah, if you wear glasses, it's more like a ring reflection.
Oh.
Does it work?
All right, let's see here. I gotta line up everything. All right.
Okay. Switch.
So everybody should have a couple paper towels, 2 brushes, 1 flat, 1 round, a cup, and if you have that cup with you, just put a little bit of water in it so that you can use that to rinse out your brushes. I apologize, yes, you'll have to get up one last time for that water if you don't have it yet.
Yvonne, a key on the ring light is to put it on the side of your computer.
There you go, yeah.
There you go.
All right, so based on like the height of everything, I'm gonna grab one more height here for my thing. Otherwise, I'm either cut off or my painting's cut off, and I know you guys want to see me as much as my painting.
Yes, yes, we do.
All right, so.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay, so my name is Shauna. I am actually the owner of Painting with a Twist. We are in Richmond, Virginia. I don't know if everybody's from Richmond, but we're in the Short Punt area. And I see you putting your apron on. You do not need to tie it. It should open up one more to be able to just slip it over your head. It happens to everybody, so do not. You may have other people that have already done that. So there is a hole at the top. If you open it even one more, you don't have to tie it. You just slip your head through the hole at the top. All right, we got it. Yes, perfect. So this is super casual. You guys are free to stay off of mute and jump in at any time you have a question or just need something repeated or want to show me to get some advice on whatever you're working on. So do not feel like you have to like wait for me to like ask if everyone's doing okay. You are free to just shout out and stop me at any point. So we are right around the Short Pump Mall. We are not in the mall. We're like in a strip mall that's just out front of it. So we've been here for just over 3 years. It was April 3 years ago. So we did have to close for a little bit, unfortunately, but we brought retail and virtual in. So you guys are taking advantage of one of those new options that we didn't offer before. So I hope you guys enjoy your time. And if you are struggling with either seeing me or maybe internet connection or something like that, just please make sure that you say something because I don't want to go too far if you guys are struggling at any point. Now that I added some height, I'm going to come back here. So I am in a bit of a different size. I have like one size up from you guys just to make it easier for you guys to see. So I have also one size bigger brush. So I have, this is my square brush. You guys have a little bit smaller square brush. and either one is totally fine. I could have used that one, but I figured just to be more proportionate with what you guys are doing, I would use this brush. So everybody should also have their instruction sheet that has a picture of what we're doing. Your instruction sheet does not look like this. This is mine. It's a little bit different than yours, but it does have a picture on it. So this is what we are doing. And if everybody has everything or doesn't have any questions before we jump in, I'm ready to get started if you are. All right, cool. So I'm going to introduce at least the colors, and I'm not going to call them like their fancy names that may be included on your sheet. It's literally just blue, green, white, yellow, and unfortunately it's magenta, and I may say pink, but you know there's only one pink, one red, something like that. So if I say pink, don't be like, wait, I don't have pink, I have red. It's the same thing. I mean the same thing. I apologize. But magenta to me is a little more pink than our bright red, so I do maybe call it pink. So plus we're trying to achieve pink on our painting anyway, so that's a good head start. All right, so what we are going to do is jump in with our horizon line. What I like to do is start at the horizon line, work our way up to finish the sky, and then jump down to the bottom to do our water. We want to make sure that we start in the middle so that as we work our way up, this can dry a little bit before we jump back down and do the bottom. So that's why I kind of break it up that way, which may seem weird rather than just working from top to bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit of water on our brush. You don't want it dripping wet by any means, which I think with the size brushes you guys have, we would probably not really run into that. But on mine specifically, if you pull your brush out, it's like drippy wet. You don't ever want to work with that because it will run down your painting, and it's hard for me to fix when you're here. It's almost impossible for me to fix when you're not here. So just make sure you're using that paper towel to get that excess water out of your brush, and you just want it kind of damp. All right, so we are going to start with our magenta and white. So it does get a little bit lighter. So it's darkest magenta right at the horizon line and gets a little bit lighter before we jump into our purple. So what we're going to do is add a tiny bit of white first and then add more white as we go up. So what I'm going to do is do one side of my brush white and pull out some magenta. So I'm still mixing it in. So I have white and magenta mixed, but I have just a dab of white and then kind of scooping up my magenta. So I have like a large amount of magenta and then a small amount of white. And then you can slowly add white as we go up. So what you want to do is decide where you want your horizon line to be. It does not have to be the same for everyone. If you want to split it completely in half and you want more water, go ahead and just pick half. It is more like 3/4 of sky. So what I would say is maybe like 3 or 4 fingers on yours. Mine would probably be a full hand to do a quarter. I'm just going to draw my line right here. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. We are going to come back in with the blue and kind of solidify that a little bit, but you kind of want a general straight line. Gives you in the right direction. So I did turn my brush sideways to do that, but it doesn't matter. If you did a nice thick line, that works as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm now turn my brush and just fill in that dark pink color back and forth a little bit. And I paint from the side, so don't judge me on my straight line because it does not exist. It is not straight by any means, but I'm going to keep messing with it because I'm sure you guys are working on it too. So what I'm going to do is dip into that again, and I'm going to get the same ratio of pink and white and do just a little bit higher with that dark pink. So again, it's hard for me to tell you exactly how high to go up because I can't measure it since we are on different size canvases, but mine is about 3 fingers, so maybe 2. And honestly, it's however much you want. If you want a ton of dark pink, go for it. You can make your sizes of colors different than mine. I would say probably at this point, with your amount of dark pink, the top of it, you probably want to be about halfway now. So if that helps. So like halfway, meaning if I cut my canvas in half, the top of the pink would be half of my canvas.
So are we supposed to see the white, or is the white blending into the pink?
The white blends right in. It's just going to be a dark pink right now.
Okay.
So now with your dirty brush, we are not rinsing out just yet. You're going to load up with white. So you still have that magenta on your brush, but you're going to go in with some straight white and blend that right over top of where you left off. And that's going to start bringing in that really, really light pink that you're going to approach. So at this point now, I have that dark pink and I've gone over and over and over right at my transition to soften that, to make it look a little bit more like a gradient rather than a harsh line. So the way to fix that, if you have that harsh line and you're going to end up with stripes, literally just go back and forth right over top of where your two areas that you want to fix meet. So that line, just go back and forth over it, and it's going to keep softening it and give you a better gradient rather than a straight line. So you can see it's a little bit blended. There's a bit of an ombre look going there. And I'm only picking up white. I am overlapping my pink, so it is going to mix with it a little bit and give you that really pale pink that you're going for without picking up any additional pink. If you are a very light-handed painter, meaning you don't use a ton of paint, you may end up having straight white because yours isn't blending. I'm a heavy painter, so mine blends very easily. So if you lost that and you literally have just a solid band of white, then you can pick up a little bit of pink. Don't feel like you have to not do it just because I'm saying you don't need to. If you feel like at any point something's not working for you, either stop me and ask or just do what feels right to you. So I'm just keep working up with that white. And I'm going to fill in to about a quarter. So at this point now, you want about a quarter here left at the top. So keep that, like, kind of think about that. If you break your canvas into quarters, how far up you need to go. We are going to be blending some color back into that. So it's not going to all be that much white or pink or whatever color you're working with. But you can take that white up pretty far. So at this point now, this is what I have. You can tell if I bring it a little closer, it is not bright pink. It is not pure white. It's kind of just a really soft pink. And those streaks, I'm okay with. If you have that where you have some white and some pink lines in that, it's going to make it look a little bit more like a sunset and a sky because it's never just like a perfect flat color. So it just gives it a little bit more character, in my opinion, if it's not completely blended. So I'm going to let you guys catch up on that. So right now I've got, like I said, about a quarter left at the top of my canvas-ish. That is untouched so far. And if you're struggling now that you've got all this white on and you're seeing that like it really looks like this harsh line, just whatever's left on your brush, just go back over it. Go back and forth, and it's going to soften that up a little bit. If you need to add a little bit more paint, maybe it's drying up a little bit. Or if maybe you brought your white too far down and you lost that really dark pink color, you can bring a little bit more back in. But the more you go over it, as long as your paint is wet, the more it's going to blend. So if your paint is dry, water, anything is not going to ruin it unless you throw like fresh paint on it. But it does dry. And so like if you hang it in your bathroom or something, the condensation from taking showers and stuff is not going to ruin your painting. When you are ready, you don't have to be done just yet, but when you are ready, you can rinse that color out of your brush. You do not need to hold on to that. Just in case you've got a lot of one or the other color, we are going to go in and make purple, which we don't have. So we are going to have to mix that, and we are going to go in with the colors we already had on our brush. But I just want to make sure that we're working from the same starting point. All right, so I don't want to wait too long on this just because as we bring our blue down, we do want it to mix a little bit with that wet paint and hopefully it stays wet. So what I'm going to have you do is, if you haven't already, just go ahead and rinse out your brush. And you're going to load up with your blue. You're actually going to start all the way at the top. We're not going to come right where we left off. We're going to bring it down and kind of meet into where we left off. So I'm going to just throw some of this straight blue up at the top there. And just start filling that in as I work my way down. If you do very long strokes all the way from one end to the other, that is the best way for you to get clean paint all the way across rather than really like sketchy piecing lines. If you want a nice smooth coat, you want to go all the way from right to left with every stroke. And you're going to come down all the way to where you left off. And I know that I'm not the host. So is anybody struggling with like getting me to be like the main person that you see? Like, you guys have it on speaker view or need help with that? I forgot to ask that.
I have you on speaker view.
Okay. So if anybody's struggling with that and needs help, just let me know. So as you come down and meet where you left off, we are going to have to make a little bit of purple. It's not going to just become purple, especially if your white and pink kind of dried a little bit. So if you already had a ton of pink and you're noticing that it's already mixing for you, that's great. But mine is not. Mine either dried or just doesn't have enough pink in it to get that purple hue. So in this transition line right in here, I'm going to have to bring in some purple. So that is going to be your red and your blue, magenta, pink, you know, I knew we'd get there. And you're going to mix up a purple, but you want to make sure that you include white in it. It will not be light enough and mix into your plate properly enough or into your canvas properly enough if it doesn't have white in it. So it's up to you what shade, if you want extra white, extra blue, extra red, depending on like what kind of purple you like. But I'm going to say mine is about this, and maybe that's kind of hard to tell or see on my plate. But after you mix up your purple, what I want you to do is rinse out your brush, because when you're mixing colors, it really loads up in those bristles, and we don't want to use a lot of paint right now. We only want a little bit of paint. You kind of just scratch in some of that purple right in the transition spot. So I am rinsing all of that out, and I'm just going to grab a little of that purple I made and throw it right in between. So I rinsed out my brush, and I'm grabbing just a little bit of purple there, and I'm going to throw that right in between where my blue left off and that white pinky color starts. So it's up to you how much you want to do. You could even leave it like that, just a slight bit of purple in there, depending on how much purple you like in your sunsets. Depends on how much you want to add in. You can always pick up some of the extra color. If it doesn't look like it's blending properly, you can pick up a little extra blue and blend it up, or you can pick up some of that light pink or white to blend it down a little bit. White is a really good blender. So if you're like running out of wet paint and it's getting a little sticky, white is a good color to use. So here's where I'm at. So I did that blue, I brought it down, put in my purple, and I noticed that my white was drying and kind of sticking a little bit. So I loaded up with some white and just put that right in between. So now I have that blue, purple, like a really light purple, that light pink, and then my dark pink. I know that's going to take a couple minutes. Go ahead.
So if I am tending to mine and maybe I don't have enough of the pink because it looks more like a indigo blue, what do I need to add more of, the pink or the white?
You need more of the pink.
Okay.
It's very hard to get that perfect purple. Everyone's purple is going to come out differently because we made it ourselves. So as long as you're happy with it, it doesn't have to match mine. But yeah, if you want to play around with it a little bit and throw in some extra blue or some extra red, depending on how yours looks. So again, it's kind of hard to see the purple, I think, based on what I'm looking at. But if you look at your example, the photo you have, there's really not a ton of purple. So you don't need to go crazy with the purple. You could pick up a little extra and streak it in if you want to make it a little bit bolder. But I like to use extra white because I just feel like it blends so much easier. The whole blue to red thing, even though purple is the mix of blue and red, it just doesn't always come out that great. I know it sounds weird to say, but it just, sometimes it doesn't. As long as the paint's wet, it'll keep mixing and blending. But once it starts to dry, that's when you notice it gets sticky and you have to pick up some extra paint to get it to blend back together again. So this is where I'm going to leave mine. It has that noticeably lighter section. Maybe my purple's not as bold as yours or as dark as the printout, but I'm pretty happy with it. If you want, what you could do, if you guys are struggling between that purple and blue, if that's where your struggle is between your purple and blue, you can take your actual purple mixture on your plate and mix it with some blue to make a shade darker purple and put it right in between. And maybe that would help you get a little bit better of a transition. I am going to take that call because they called twice, so just give me
Okay, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm glad I'm drinking wine. It's my excuse for the way my painting looks. This is
All right, when you are done with your blending for your sky, you can rinse that color out. We are going to go back in and do clouds, but we are going to wait until it dries because it could really screw things up if the paint is half dry. So we're going to do the clouds after we do the water. I'll give you guys like another minute or two, and if everybody's just sitting there waiting for me to move on, then you let me know, but I don't want to rush you guys because we definitely have time.
Shauna, is it important that we make our water clear again, or it can stay like this?
So maybe when we go to do our clouds, but for right now, we're actually going to jump back into blue, and I see that your water is blue. So that is not going to be an issue, at least right now. When we go back in and do our clouds, and if we're going back into like whites and pinks and you can't seem to get it out of your brush, then you can absolutely rinse out. But it kind of just depends on what colors you're working with. Sometimes we get to the end of class and the last step is black and people are like, oh, my water's dirty. And it's like, you're using black, it doesn't matter. So in this exact moment, you're good, but you could definitely take a break and rinse it when we go back in for the clouds. All right, so I think I see everybody wrapping up, looking at me, ready to move on. So what we're gonna do is start with our water. So our water is up to you what kind of shade of water you want. It is gonna be a mixture of the blue and the green, but if you want it really like turquoisey and tropical, then maybe you wanna add extra green into it. If you really want it to look more like a lake or something, maybe more blue. I am going to do a pretty even mix of green and blue. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna just mix green and blue right now for the very top of the water. And then as we move down, we'll add in some of that white to lighten it up. So the horizon line is where you want it the darkest, it's the farthest away. And again, it's up to you what shade of turquoise or blue you want and what color you think is pretty, but I will throw mine on. It's kind of hard to see on my plate, so I'm just going to throw mine on my canvas so you can see what color I'm working with. So this is my blue. As long as it's a little bit different than your blue up in the sky, then people will know the difference between your water and your sky. So I haven't put any white in yet. I'm going to do 2 full brush strokes thickness of this dark blue before I add any white in. So this is the point where you really want to come up to that line. You can overlap it, and the reason why that is potentially a good thing if you overlap your current horizon line is you'll notice it gets a little bit darker. You get this like purpley blue kind of color, and that will actually cut your horizon line and make it really nice and dark and deep right where the transition is. So if you like that, you can go a little bit higher into your sky to make that just that very top part a little bit darker. But it is kind of hard to get that nice straight line. I get it. And I'm probably, that straight line that I attempted last time, I'm probably completely screwing it up and making it even worse now, but I'm okay with it. So here's where I've got my dark turquoise color. That's 2 brush strokes thick for me. It might be a little bit bigger than what you have. And then because I don't want it to dry as I keep layering in the lighter shades, I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of white and mix it into the mixture I already made, that blue and green mixture. So just slowly adding white and making it a shade lighter as I work my way down. This is very similar to that sky, as in you want that blend and that gradient transition to happen, but if you keep going back over it, you're going to get that nice, smooth transition as you bring that white in. You don't want it to look like stripes. That probably would be even worse for the water than it is for the sky. And you can make it as dark as you want. You can go all the way to the bottom, so don't feel like you need to stop at a certain point. Those green leaves and flowers and everything are just going to overlap that water. So just keep working your way down, picking up more white each time. And you can always layer back on top. So say you're stepping back and you realize that like it really just doesn't look that different from the top to the bottom. You can just pick up some extra white and throw it right on top, and it'll brighten up the bottom a little bit more. If you feel like it's too light everywhere, just pick up a little extra of that dark turquoise color and throw some more dark at the top. And also, it doesn't have to be a gradient the whole time. So say you get to halfway and you just want the whole bottom to be the same light blue, that works too. It doesn't have to constantly get lighter. And if it's streaky and you're seeing some of your lights and dark areas, that's just giving you a head start on the water breaks and lines we're going to put in anyway. So don't feel like it has to be this perfectly smooth, flat color. I like to see the streaks. So here's what my water looks like. You just want to make sure that your horizon line is darker. So if it's not, clean off your brush, get the white out of it, pick up some of that darker blue and green, and just put in a little strip in the back that's darker. And I can tell you now, I don't know what your guys' looks like, but mine is definitely more of like 2/3 and 1/3 than quarters. So if you have smaller with water, that's totally fine. It probably just looks closer to the example in mine. And when you're done with that, you can rinse that out. I know you guys are going to need a couple minutes on that, so I'm not moving on just yet. So before we move on, and I know I honestly could have mentioned this while we were going, but it's a little bit challenging because you guys are at home and you may not have like the resources to like have a wet canvas sitting on your table. I didn't want to mention it, but if you at the end maybe probably want to paint your edges, you'll notice that it's white. So you have just like this white rough end border. If you want to wrap your canvas and bring that color around the edges, maybe it'll be a good idea to do at the end when you can just hold the whole thing and then maybe like set it outside to dry or something like that. If you're painting like flat on your table or something, it might get a little bit messy right now. But I personally like the wrapped gallery look. I think it looks really nice. Or you can even pick up like dark blue and just paint the whole outside dark blue or something. It's 9. There's 2 people that are by themselves. So they need to on the table. Yeah. Can't be right. That doesn't add up. There must be 3 people by themselves. Yeah. All right, does anybody feel brave? They want to show me? See what we've got so far now that we've got paint all over our canvas now. Oh my goodness, they look so good. Nice job. There we go. Very nice. Thank you. Oh, that looks good too. Look at you. Oh, nice. Good job. These are looking so good. And now I'm going to scare you all with doing our clouds. Not going to tell you the clouds are easy. I'm not going to do that. So put on your brave suit. So if you do need to take a minute real quick and rinse out your cup, if you want fresh water for the clouds, you can do that now. All right, I'm gonna give you guys like 2 more minutes. I'm just gonna move a table into the front room real quick and it's loud, so I'm gonna mute.
So I'm thinking once COVID goes away, we should reconvene at Painting with a Twist. What do you think, ladies? This is really fun, isn't it?
I've always wanted to do a painting and I have never done one. I've been at vendor events where everybody else is doing it. And so this is cool.
So it looks to me like our youngest painter is really, really going to show us up. I'm just
Yeah,
a guess.
very intense.
Yes.
Well, any artistry she got skipped a generation. She got it from her CC, Carolyn Huxford, who's also here. Skipped me. I have no talent. And now she's the artiste of the family.
Love it. What is your name, sweetie?
Vanilla.
Anella. Wow, that's pretty. Well, thank you for being here and showing us how it really is supposed to be done. Cute.
I think we'll probably win most paint scattered about the house as well.
I'm trying really hard. I'm in the living room on living room furniture. So I got stuff down like, please don't spill anything. I'm not sure what step we're at now. Because I see step 5 says dry the canvas using a hairdryer.
Okay, well,
Or 10 minutes.
let me just establish that I have not read those instructions. I have no idea what they say, so I may or may not be following them. I apologize for that, and I should have realized I gave you guys the instructions. Normally, I don't give that, but I was
Yeah.
brave, and I was like, if someone can't make it and they need to know what happened or they get lost, then you guys have them, but I may or may not be following those.
That's okay. Well, I'm following you.
So yeah, this is a good time to kind of dry your canvas a little bit. All right, so what we are going to do is jump in with our clouds. The only thing I do want you guys to just check is keep in mind that the clouds are just going to be in this section here. They're not into the blue sky at all. That's where our stars are going to be. So it's kind of like the night sky meeting with the setting sun and everything. So as long if you can use like the back of your hand and just check that like your pink and purple are like mostly dry. If it's like a tiny bit wet, that's fine. If it's really wet, like you went back in after we did the water, then maybe you do need to just run and use a hairdryer real quick. But if it's mostly dry, you should be good. So I am going to go ahead and jump into the clouds. So we want our cloud color to slightly match the color of the sky that we're working in. So you want the darker clouds at the bottom and the lighter clouds up into the pink, and like light pink and purple. It really doesn't have to go into the purple depending on how far your purple came down, but mostly going to be white in that higher section. You just obviously have to have them dark enough or light enough to stand out against it. If it's the exact same color, you're not going to see them, believe it or not. So what you're going to do is start with the lighter ones. I'm going to start with those just because we can kind of add the darker color in as we work our way down. So I am going to use my square brush still. If you feel like you're struggling with that with your clouds, you can always pick up that smaller brush, but I really don't think that's going to help. So one tidbit of information for the clouds is, because I said they were challenging, there's 2 things you can do. One, skip them. If you are like, I love my sky, I think it's perfect the way it is, and I don't want to ruin it, you can absolutely skip the clouds. The second thing is, have an open mind, because I'm going to use my fingers to get the nice, like, fluffy cloud look. I'm not going to use my brush as much. I'm going to really go in with my fingers to get that cloud look. So if you really want to paint with your paintbrush, it's probably not going to look the same as mine because it's just not going to give the same look, but you are free to use your brush if you do not want to get messy. All right, so what I'm going to do is pick up my pure dark pink on that brush, and I'm going to kind of simultaneously put paint on and use my finger to kind of smooth it out. So I'm going to put some paint on, use my finger, put some paint. So I'm not like jumping in with just my finger or just my brush. So, and I know this is going to be kind of hard to see, but I'll try to move it closer and not paint my computer. So what we're going to do is right down here, and again, it's dark pink, so you may not see it. I may have to manipulate that so you can, is just swirl in some clouds and then use your finger to fluff them up a little bit. And that is very hard to see. So what I'm gonna do is add a tiny bit of blue to make mine even darker at the bottom. And I mean a tiny bit of blue. It is going to change very quickly if you use too much. So here, yeah, that looks a little bit darker. So something like that. What I like to do is bring in like a straight line and then just kind of fluff around it and use that finger to kind of add the additional fluffy cloud blur. So I'm gonna do another one right here. There's two. I'm gonna make this one extra dark down here. So once I add this, I am gonna pick up a little bit of white while they're still wet and fluff that in with it so that you're seeing the break of colors and it's not just that one solid color. And I know it's hard to see. I'm so sorry, guys. So I'm just picking up a little bit of white on my finger to swirl that in on top. So I do want to kind of keep the dark on the bottom and only really add that lighter bit to the top. So if you lost your darkness, you can always pick up a little of that dark back up and swirl that in at the bottom. So I've got these dark clouds down at the bottom. I'm fairly certain. Yes. And I have a lot of paint on my brush, so I'm gonna rinse it out before I go in to do those white ones. So I did my 3 darker ones at the bottom. And then I rinsed out. And I think these ones will show up a little bit better. So if you're still working on those dark ones, it's okay. I'm just gonna throw this light one right in the middle so you guys can see it a little bit better than those dark ones. So what I'm gonna do is just do this straight line like that, swirl a little bit above and below that line to get the shape of the cloud that I want, and then use my finger to make it a little fluffier. So right in there, now I have that lighter one. And I'm using a larger brush, so my swirls might end up a little bit bigger than yours. You do not have to like try to get them as large as mine. You'll notice on the example that they're definitely a lot smaller. It's just that I'm working with the size brush. And then when you're ready, you can just start doing those lighter ones. You can have one that goes right off the side. And honestly, if they're like closer to the color that you have there and they're less noticeable, it might be for the better. So if you're like, ooh, I need to add more colors, I can't really see them, maybe having them be a little bit lighter and falling into the background would make you feel a little bit better about them as well. So once you get those lighter ones in, you can always do the same thing where you pick up a little bit of that darker pink and put it in at the bottom just to show the top and the bottom, like swipe in just a little bit and then smear it. So I kind of just picked up a little bit of that darker color and put it right at the bottom. But if you're just getting along fine with the white ones, stick with it. And just as mine looks different than the photograph, it's going to look different than yours, which is going to look different than everybody else's. And that's okay, because it's your painting and we want them to look different. We don't want them to all be the same. So that's pretty much where I'm going to cut it with my clouds. After I added in a little bit darker on the bottom, I kind of went back in with some bright white and put it on top to make it really stand out against that darker edge at the bottom. And I did go into my purple, but I didn't go as high as my blue. We are going to go in with the round brush next. You don't have to be there yet, but you can, when you're done, you can toss that square brush back in the cup. We're gonna give it a bit of a break. So when you are done, you can get that round brush out and ready.
Shauna, my clouds look more like a tornado.
Okay, so if you're really struggling with it, you don't like it, you can just pick up some paint and paint right over it and like either go back to it later, because like we're not putting anything over top of it at this point. The clouds are the front. So if you don't like it and you want to just paint right over it, or even go back into it once we're completely done and work on it more and try it again, or just paint it over and keep it a flat sky, those are all options. That, like I said, there's nothing coming in overlapping that area. So you can always just paint it over it. I know, I warned you that they're not easy and they don't always come out great. It's iffy at best for me, even, so. All right, so I am gonna move on to the water. So I am using this round brush here. And what I'm gonna do is add in the ripple lines to the water. So what you wanna do is get a slightly lighter shade in each section to get those ripples. So you want some ripples coming into this top part. but you want it to just be slightly lighter. So if you still have that watercolor, just pick up some white and maybe one of the colors you used farther down here. Just put in a few little breaks and lines. You don't want a ton of them up at the top because most of the breaks are going to be further down. And then just keep adding white to your brush and just bring in some ripples. They're just kind of like mostly straight lines, a little bit wavy, just to break up that water a little bit, make it look a little bit more like movement. So I made a really light blue up at the top, but further down, I kind of just picked up some pure white. So it's up to you if you want to make a lighter blue in certain areas rather than that straight white, you can do that. You can always pick up darker color as well. And there is going to be that greenery and flowers at the very bottom. So don't go too crazy with the white at the very bottom because you won't need it. So just like that, you don't have to go crazy. That is enough for me, but it makes it look a little bit more like real water. And then after you do that, you can just rinse off and we're gonna hop up and do those stars in the sky. So you can just rinse off and just put some pure white right at the very end of that round brush and just do some dots. You can add a little bit more pressure to make them vary in size. So some of them are a little bit bigger. And you're only gonna put the stars in the blue area. It can come down into your purple just slightly, but mostly just that blue. So just like that. I wouldn't go crazy or it may look like snow, and snow being above the clouds doesn't make much sense. We don't like snow, right? I don't. And then all we have left is that greenery with some flowers. All right, looks like everybody's mostly done with those stars. If not, you can always do them at the very end. If you were still working on your clouds or your lines and you weren't ready for the stars, you can do it at the very end. So we are going to move on to that greenery. And I'm going to keep with this round brush. I did rinse out, but it's okay if you didn't. The white's not going to hinder you too much. But what you're going to do is you're going to finally use that yellow we have on our plate that we haven't used yet, because that green that we have is just a little bit too dark on its own. It makes it a little bit brighter. And I hate to use the word neon. It's definitely not neon, but it does make it a little bit lighter. If you feel like it's just not getting the color you like or what matches, you can add a tiny bit of blue to it if you want to mute it just a little bit. And more make it like a bright turquoisey green, I guess, like a yellowy turquoise green. So this is the color I have. It's probably hard to tell what color it actually is. I can show you on my plate, just right there. And what you're gonna do at the bottom, you're not gonna go crazy just adding in a bunch of lines because that's gonna be really time consuming. You're actually gonna kind of scribble a little bit and just make like a little bit like cloud fluff, just kind of fill in a little bit and then we'll add the extra lines after. So you're just gonna come right to the bottom and you're gonna cover most of it, but you're just gonna kind of scribble some fluff just like that and just make it look a little bit like fuzzy looking, I guess. And it does go up a little bit on the edges and it's a little bit lower in the center, but you're just gonna kind of start with that. It'll just look like swirly, wavy grass. So you don't have to completely fill it in. If you're seeing that water come through the background, that's fine, that's good. You don't want to completely fill it in. It's just really light touch, just really wispy swirls. So once you do these wispy swirls, you can kind of blot little extra dabs in to kind of fill in to make it look a little bit more like bushes. So like over here, I added some extra. So right over here, it's still a little bit piecey and swirly, but right in here, I'm just picking up some paint and just blotting some extra just to make it look a little bit more like bushes rather than all pure grass. So you can just kind of blot a little extra of that in some places after you get those swirls. So I have a mixture of swirls and blots to have some really just abstract looking messy grass there. And then just the last step with that green is to just use the shape of the brush to your advantage and just wisp little pieces of grass that are coming up a little bit higher. So I'm just coming from where I left off with those swirls and just wisping really light touch blades of grass that are coming up a little bit higher there. Hey. Your pre-paint sheets on the front counter. So however much you want, something like this is enough, but if you really want to go crazy and add all kinds of blades, you can do that. And then once you do that, there's just one step left, which is to add in the flowers. So just make sure that your grass is where you want it. You're probably not going to want to add grass back in after we add in the flowers. So if you need to add some more swirls or blots or anything like that, or blades, before we go in with those flowers, make sure your grass is where you want it. I like to keep mine looking a little bit more abstract. I don't want it to look perfect, so I just have that, whatever that is. So we do have about 7 minutes left. So I will give you guys 2 more minutes to finish up the grass, and then we'll spend the last couple minutes just doing the flowers, and then we'll finish up. All right, when you are done with your grass, you can clean your brush out, rinse it out, and get all that green out of it. And we are going to use that round brush for the last step. So it is a mix of magenta and white, but if you notice on the picture that there's some dark ones, some light ones, so you kind of want to break it up and go around and add different variations. So what you want to do is start by doing maybe like 50-50, where you do like 50% of the magenta and 50% of the white and make like a light pink or a medium pink, I guess, something like this color, and add some dots of the dark color. Just pick up some extra color because your green may still be a little bit wet, but if you just pick up extra color and just do like globs of it, it's going to get lost in the grass anyway. All the flowers aren't going to be sitting at the very front, so some of it may be behind and blending in with the grass a little bit. So if it doesn't look like it's all like super vibrant, that's fine. If you need to rinse off, you can. So after I get those like medium pink ones in, so I have a bunch just all the way across with that medium pink, I'm going to pick up some pure white and do some either overlapping or close by, next to, have just a different variation of flowers. So now I have some pink ones, some white ones, and then you could just load up with just the straight magenta if you want, and throw in a couple darker ones, however crazy you want to get with your flowers of how much you want to do. You could even add some yellow ones. That's up to you. The yellow will stand out nicely against the green because you've already mixed some of that yellow in anyway. So either white and yellow or just yellow. You could break it up even more and just add a tiny bit of that. I'm adding like a really small amount, just like a small dot, almost the size of my stars of yellow. So if you look real quick, you can see, maybe you can see that I added some yellow in. And just breaks it up a little bit more.
Room, walk in.
So we have about 3 minutes left. If you guys need all 3 minutes, you are welcome to use it. If you have any questions or want to show your painting or anything like that, I'm happy to advise or just congratulate you on finishing. If you would like to sign your painting, the bottom right or left-hand corner is typically a good spot, but since that area is a little bit wet, maybe you wait till it's dry and use a little bit of white with your round brush and just sign your name or your initials or something. You could sign it in the sky or put your initials in stars, whatever works for you. And don't forget about those edges. If you haven't done them yet and you want to do them, you can do that after we're done.
I gotta give everybody some.
Bruce, okay. Don't worry.
I've got one person who got.
Don't worry about it. I'm on son, so I can walk around. Well, I hope everybody had fun. Thank you so much for attending. This is a little sample of what we do. Obviously, you're on a little bit smaller canvas. We don't typically do something that small, so we wanted to be able to shorten it down a little bit for you. So if you're interested in either coming to our studio or purchasing an at-home kit, you can do it without a virtual event. We do curbside pickup with at-home kits, and they come with a video, so you would be able to watch the instruction on your own time without a scheduled event. But awesome job. Thank you so much for sharing. Very
Shauna,
nice.
I just want to tell you that you are clearly very skilled, because this doesn't look like a blob. I'm not saying it's great, but it doesn't look like a blob. And I
Oh,
am
I'm
winning
so
thanks.
glad.
Thank you so much, Shauna. And I also want to say to all the women here, you saw Shauna multitasking. That is a woman determined to do a business. That's what we have to do in all of our lives. So yeah, big hand for Shauna, everybody. Please thank her. We're right at 7 o'clock. We appreciate everything. Please go and see Painting with a Twist. Maybe next year we can do this in person at your studio.
That
But
sounds
thank
perfect.
you so very much. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys. I hope you had fun and that
It
you
was
come and
fun.
see us another time.
Yes, we will, definitely.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you
good
so
one.
much.
Good
Okay,
night.
thank you, Shauna.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Carolyn Huxford and Rising Creek Family
Thank you,
Connections
Yvonne.
for helping our community. And thank you to Josie for sharing all of your wonderful things. And don't forget to, we're gonna send out your information, Josie, so we can patronize your business. Anella is Carolyn's granddaughter. And let's see your portrait, Anella, before we leave. Oh my God,
pretty.
fabulous. Look at your clouds. I'm so jealous. My clouds look like tornadoes. Good job, Anella. Oh my goodness, how wonderful is that? So anyway, thank you so much, ladies. Let's continue to connect and support one another. And if you haven't made a donation yet to Rising Creek Family Connections, please do. We're going to be awarding some raffle prizes. And our winners today, I had the list somewhere. I know one of our winners is, let's see now, we have some gift cards, and we also have, let's see, somewhere I have a list. We have a Capital Ale House gift card. We have a Marriott free night stay. We have an Amazon gift card. And we also have some other things. Kathy Whitener, Stacy Murrell, and Rita Cook. I may be missing someone, but we'll be sending your gifts to you through the mail. And thank you so much for participating. And Rising Creek Family Connections, please keep telling us updates, and we can continue to donate throughout the year for sure. So thank you everyone for participating, and I hope you had fun. I hope you did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Hamilton Beach, right, Carolyn?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.